The Cretaceous period spanned approximately 145 million to 66 million years ago, making it nearly 80 million years long, significantly longer than the Triassic and Jurassic periods. During the Cretaceous period, the Earth experienced a significantly warmer and more humid climate compared to the present day. This created favorable living conditions for a wide range of animals and plants. In the dense forests of what is now Europe, the fish-eating Baryonyx prowled riverbanks. Across the vast landmasses, the fearsome Majungasaurus ruled the island of Madagascar, a relentless predator with a powerful bite. Meanwhile, in the ancient woodlands of Asia, the bizarre and formidable Therizinosaurus used its enormous scythe-like claws to forage for vegetation. This is the Cretaceous period. Baryonyx. Baryonyx is a genus of carnivorous, probably piscivorous, dinosaur that lived in England during the early Cretaceous period, between 130 and 125 million years ago. Baryonyx walkeri is indeed a beast among dinosaurs. Its name means heavy claw in ancient Greek, with walkeri being a tribute to its discoverer, William Walker. This thin-nosed theropod was only discovered in 1983, but it has since helped dinosaur scientists to learn more about prehistoric life and missing details about other meat-eating predators. The fossilized skeleton found in Surrey may well have belonged to a juvenile, that's a young Baryonyx, but paleontologists think that this croc-like creature could have grown up to 4 meters tall and 7.5 to 10 meters long, and that's considered to be medium-sized. It stood on 2 legs and had uncharacteristically long arms for a theropod. In fact, Baryonyx was very different to most other carnivorous dinosaurs in a number of ways. Due to the presence of scales from the prehistoric fish Leptoceratops, along with fossilized fragments of iguanodon in the stomach areas of Baryonyx discoveries, scientists have no doubt that fish would have been on the menu for these river-roving dinosaurs as well as meat. Famously clawed creatures such as Velociraptor used their razor-sharp tools for ripping and slashing, but Baryonyx appears to have used its own for scooping fish from the rivers and streams of its native environment. The curved nature of its claw also meant that it did a much better job at keeping hold of slippery, wriggling fish than a straighter, more pointed claw shape would have allowed. Another feature which has convinced experts of Baryonyx's fishy fondness is the shape and length of its nose or snout. Long and flat, it included a mouth which tilted upwards slightly to foil any fleeing fish. In fact, Baryonyx's massive maw was very like those we now see in present-day crocodiles and alligators. Its teeth were small, serrated and cone-shaped, curving back towards the head to pierce and hook its panicking prey. And there were lots of them. In fact, Baryonyx had 96 teeth in total, and although nowhere near as impressive in size, that's 36 more than its fellow theropod, the Tyrannosaurus rex. Baryonyx had another major difference in its appearance. Its nostrils were set quite far back on its snout, not at the tip like most theropods. Paleontologists think that this may show that it was able to swim, although it is still considered to be a land-dwelling dinosaur and not an aquatic one. Baryonyx was a solitary dinosaur, as scientists have not found any evidence of social structures or group behavior in fossils recovered so far. This means individuals would have lived and hunted alone, possibly occupying different territories across their home range. Majungasaurus. Majungasaurus is a genus of abelosaurid theropod dinosaur that lived in Madagascar from 70 to 66 million years ago, making it one of the last known non-avian dinosaurs that went extinct during the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event. The genus contains a single species, Majungasaurus crenatissimus. Like other abelisaurids, Majungasaurus was a bipedal predator with a short snout. Although the forelimbs are not completely known, they were very short, while the hind limbs were longer and very stocky. It can be distinguished from other abelosaurids by its broader skull, the notably rough texture and thickened bone on the top of its snout, and the singular rounded horn on its skull, which was initially mistaken for a pachycephalosaur dome. Additionally, it possessed more teeth in both its upper and lower jaws compared to most abelosaurids. The genus is one of the first abelosaurs to be discovered, first being found in 1896, although it is thought to be a species of Megalosaurus, and being named in 1955. Known from several well-preserved skulls and abundant skeletal material, Majungasaurus has recently become one of the best-studied theropod dinosaurs from the southern hemisphere. It appears to be most closely related to abelosaurids from India rather than South America or continental Africa, a fact that has important biogeographical implications. Majungasaurus was the apex predator of its ecosystem, primarily hunting sauropods such as Cretaceous. It is also one of the few dinosaurs with direct evidence of cannibalism. Scientists estimate that the dinosaurs were approximately 3.5 meters or 11.4 feet tall, and around 5.6 to 7 meters or 18 to 23 feet long, although fossil discoveries show that some might have grown longer than 8 meters or 26.2 feet. Moreover, it could weigh as much as 750 to 1,100 kilograms, or 1,653 to 2,425 pounds. Paleontological discoveries show that the Majungasaurus was most probably a resident of the Mahajanga province of Madagascar, more precisely, the Maevarano Formation. Madagascar was an island 70 million years ago and featured a semi-arid climate with seasonal temperature changes. The Majungasaurus flocculus was smaller than that of other theropods, and thus it couldn't react quickly to prey, as it relied only on slow head movements. Therefore, since sauropods were slow-moving too, it's no wonder they served as the main prey for the Majungasaurus. However, it seems that sauropods weren't the only dietary choice of a Majungasaurus. Studies based on bones-bearing tooth marks show that these dinosaurs preyed on their siblings. While other theropods relied on hunting and killing strategies similar to those of narrow-snouted canids, meaning that they delivered multiple bites until prey became weak, the Majungasaurus attack technique was similar to that of felids. This means that they bit once and held on to prey until it was subdued, something called a bite-and-hold technique. Majungasaurus is particularly notable for its skull ornamentation, featuring swollen and fused nasals, along with a frontal horn. Other ceratosaurs, such as Carnotaurus, Rajasaurus, and Ceratosaurus, also had head crests. These structures likely played a role in intraspecific competition, although their exact function remains unclear. The frontal horn of Majungasaurus had a hollow cavity, which would have weakened it, making it unlikely to be used for direct physical combat. Instead, the horn may have been used for display. Despite variations in the ornamentation among Majungasaurus individuals, there is no evidence of sexual dimorphism. Therizinosaurus. Therizinosaurus is a genus of very large Therizinosaurid that lived in Asia during the late Cretaceous period, in what is now the Nemegt Formation around 72.1 million years ago to 66 million years ago. It contains a single species, Therizinosaurus cheloniformis. The first remains of Therizinosaurus were found in 1948 by a Mongolian field expedition at the Gobi Desert and later described by Evgeny Maleev in 1954. Therizinosaurus was a colossal Therizinosaurid that could grow up to 9 to 10 meters, or 30 to 33 feet long, and 4 to 5 meters, or 13 to 16 feet tall, and weigh possibly over 5 tons. Like other Therizinosaurids, it would have been a slow-moving, long-necked, high browser equipped with a horny beak and a wide torso for food processing. Its forelimbs were particularly robust and had 3 fingers that bore unguals, which, like other relatives, were very stiffened, elongated, and only had significant curvatures at the tips. Therizinosaurus possessed the longest known manual unguals of any land animal, exceeding 50 centimeters or 20 inches in length. Its hind limbs ended in 4 functional, weight-bearing toes, unlike other theropods where the first toe was reduced to a dew claw. This feature is more similar to the distantly related sauropodomorphs. The unusual arms and body anatomy of Therizinosaurus have been cited as an example of convergent evolution with calicotherines and other primary herbivorous mammals, suggesting similar feeding habits. The elongated hand claws of Therizinosaurus were more useful when pulling vegetation within reach, rather than being used for active attack or defense because of their fragility. However, they may have had some role for intimidation. Its arms were also particularly resistant to stress, which suggests a robust use of these limbs. Unlike the case with some other Mongolian dinosaurs, we have no direct fossil evidence that Therizinosaurus was covered in feathers, but given its lifestyle and its place in the theropod family tree, it likely had feathers during at least some part of its life cycle. Today, modern depictions of Therizinosaurus are split between fully feathered recreations, which look a bit like Big Bird on steroids, and more conservative reconstructions in which the reaping lizard had classic reptilian skin. Therizinosaurus was a grazer. On the other hand, it would have competed with contemporary grazers such as Saurolophus. Although small predators like dromaeosaurids and troodontids did not represent a threat to Therizinosaurus, the only other predator rivaling in size was Tarbosaurus. Because of the greater height of Therizinosaurus, a large Tarbosaurus may have been not able to bite any higher than the thighs or belly of an adult standing Therizinosaurus. The social behavior of it remains a subject of debate, with limited evidence to suggest whether it was solitary or gregarious. However, the presence of other large herbivores in the same habitat raises the possibility of some level of social integration, whether competitive or cooperative. Quetzalcoatlus. Quetzalcoatlus is a genus of asdarchid pterosaur from late Cretaceous North America, known as one of the largest flying animals ever discovered. Its discovery in the 1970s significantly challenged our understanding of flight in prehistoric times. Douglas Lawson, a geology graduate student from the University of Texas, discovered the first fossils in Big Bend National Park, Texas. This initial find, a partial wing, laid the foundation for a groundbreaking paleontological discovery. Dating to around 68 million years ago, the fossil hinted at an enormous creature with a wingspan of 10 meters. The type species, Quetzalcoatlus northropi, is renowned for its gigantic wingspan, estimated around 10 to 11 meters. This vast wingspan was complemented by a height of at least 5.5 meters, or 18 feet, when grounded. In contrast, Quetzalcoatlus lawsoni, the smaller species, boasted a more modest wingspan of around 6 meters, or 19.6 feet. Both shared the asdarchid pterosaur distinctive features, a long neck and a head crowned with a sharp, pointed beak. Body mass estimates for Quetzalcoatlus have varied widely, reflecting the challenges in figuring out the weight of such a bizarre creature. For Quetzalcoatlus northropi, estimates have ranged from as low as 70 kilograms up to 250 kilograms, depending on the calculation method. Quetzalcoatlus thrived in the late Cretaceous ecosystems of North America, with its fossils primarily found in what is now Texas, indicating a habitat of semi-arid inland plains. Notable dinosaurs that coexisted with Quetzalcoatlus include Alamosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, Ankylosaurus, and Triceratops. The diet and feeding behavior of Quetzalcoatlus have been debated among paleontologists. Initially, it was believed that Quetzalcoatlus scavenged or hunted terrestrial prey due to the absence of large bodies of water in the region where its fossils were discovered. This theory proposed a lifestyle involving the consumption of small animals or carrion. More recent analyses lean towards a terrestrial stalker model, where Quetzalcoatlus would use its height and long neck to survey the ground for small vertebrates and invertebrates. This theory aligns with the known distribution of asdarchid fossils in inland areas, suggesting these pterosaurs were adept at walking and foraging on land, much like modern herons or storks. Early theories suggested that such a massive creature could only have been a glider, catching thermal updrafts to stay airborne. However, further research into the structure of its wings and body mass estimates suggests Quetzalcoatlus was highly adapted for flight. The genus featured a relatively lightweight structure and a large surface area that would have facilitated both lift and control. Its strong physique suggests it could launch itself into the air with a powerful leap. Once airborne, it would have been capable of sustaining flapping flight over short distances, transitioning to thermal soaring for long-distance travel. This flight strategy would have allowed Quetzalcoatlus to exploit a variety of ecological niches, ranging from scavenging on the ground to hunting in the air or over water. Its ability to cover vast distances could also explain the widespread distribution of asdarchid fossils across different continents. Protoceratops. Protoceratops was a four-legged herbivorous or vegetarian dinosaur which lived in the late Cretaceous period around 75 to 70 million years ago. It was found in Central Asia, alongside ferocious predators such as the infamous Velociraptor. Protoceratops means first horned face in Greek, but it was certainly not the first of its kind, called ceratopsians. Also, Protoceratops's skull consisted of a bird-like beak and a large bony collar, but definitely no horns. It was actually quite a small dinosaur, just 1.8 meters or 6 feet long, and about 0.6 meters or 2 feet high. But Protoceratops's size was deceptive. It weighed in at a hefty 180 kilograms. That's 400 pounds, the same as a pygmy hippo. So, although only about the size of quite a large pet dog, having this chunky little chap stand on your feet at dinner time would be a lot more painful. Protoceratops's diet was strictly vegetarian, and it was physically adapted to eat plants, making it a herbivore. It used the claws on its stumpy front legs to dig through undergrowth for twigs or leaves and reached up to snip low-hanging branches, or maybe some newly evolving Cretaceous angiosperms, or flowering plants, with its sharp beak. The large eyes of Protoceratops has been suggested as evidence for a nocturnal lifestyle. However, subsequent comparisons between the scleral rings of Protoceratops and modern birds and reptiles have indicated a more cathemeral lifestyle, being active throughout the day during short intervals. This suggests that the fight between Protoceratops and the primarily nocturnal Velociraptor indicated by the fighting specimens may have occurred at twilight or under low-light conditions. Protoceratops was a social dinosaur that formed herds throughout its life, and such herds would have varied in composition, with some including adults, subadults, and siblings from a single nest, or local members of a herd joining shortly after hatching. However, as the group could have lost members by predation or other factors, the remnant individuals would aggregate into larger groups to increase their survival. Juveniles would aggregate primarily as a defense against predators and an increased protection from the multiple adults within the group. While Protoceratops provides direct evidence for the formation of single cohort aggregations throughout its lifespan, it cannot be ruled out the possibility that some Protoceratops were solitary. Ceratopsians followed a unique evolutionary trajectory during the Mesozoic era. The earliest dog-sized genera evolved in late Jurassic Asia, and by the end of the Cretaceous period, they had vastly increased in size and been restricted to North America. Tylosaurus was the deadliest hunter of the ancient seas, ready to seize and kill just about any smaller creature that crossed its path with true jaws of death, lined on each side with 2 rows of pointy, cone-shaped teeth. Tylosaurus grew more than 14 meters or 45 feet long, making it one of the largest of the marine reptiles called mosasaurs. Like all mosasaurs, a long and muscular, vertically flattened tail powered Tylosaurus through the water, allowing it to ambush its prey with rapid bursts of acceleration. Paddle-like limbs helped steer the slim body covered in lizard-like scales through the water. Fossils of the Tylosaurus are most commonly discovered in the central United States, especially in Kansas and surrounding states. Because of its massive size, Tylosaurus was able to become an apex predator with ease, thus ensuring that nothing was off-limits. They were known to have eaten fish, sharks, some flightless birds, enormous plesiosaurs, along with other mosasaurs. Even though Tylosaurus had strong jaws and huge teeth, it's possible that these weren't its main methods of striking in the conventional sense. The jaw's most forward regions have severely reduced tooth density to the extent of just being toothless. Its head is additionally strengthened, rendering it more robust compared to other marine reptiles. Moreover, some Tylosaurus snouts exhibit stress deformation that might have resulted from jarring collision. All of these indicate that Tylosaurus rammed victims at great speeds, employing extreme force. One such blow would certainly not harm the victim directly, but it might very quickly paralyze it, causing it to drift helplessly in the water, awaiting the final bite. Females would deposit their eggs in hot, sandy regions, in which the sunlight could subsequently incubate them. The newborns would have been left to fend for themselves in the hostile environment after they hatched. Tylosaurus had no natural enemies to threaten them. However, they were prone to being vulnerable at the juvenile stage, since newborns are left to defend themselves. It's theorized that the main threat to Tylosaurus was other members of its species. The Tylosaurus body was covered by small, diamond-shaped scales, arranged similar to that of modern rattlesnakes and other related reptiles. The scales were small in proportion to the reptile's entire body, each measuring about 3.3 by 2.5 millimeters for a 5-meter or 16 feet long individual. The scales were keeled, which would have helped to reduce drag as the Tylosaurus swims in the water. In the last 20 million years of the Cretaceous period, mosasaurs like the Tylosaurus evolved to become the apex predator of the marine ecosystem. This has been attributed to the extinction of the ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs, which were the dominant predators before them. Tylosaurus also evolved into bigger sizes throughout the Cretaceous. Earlier species in the genus that were alive about 90 million years ago were typically about 5 to 7 meters long. By the time they went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous period, the biggest Tylosaurus was up to twice that size. Alamosaurus. Alamosaurus is one of the few titanosaurs known to have lived in the late Cretaceous, 70 to 65 million years ago in North America, and possibly in vast numbers. They may have been as many as 350,000 of these 60-foot-long herbivores living in Texas at any given time. Its closest relative appears to have been another titanosaur, Saltasaurus. Adults would have measured around 25 meters or 82 feet long and weighed up to 30 to 35 tons, though some specimens indicate a larger body size. Isolated vertebrae and limb bones suggest that it could have reached sizes comparable to Argentinosaurus and Quetzalcoatlus, which would make it the absolute largest dinosaur known from North America. Its fossils have been recovered from a variety of rock formations spanning the Maastrichtian age. Specimens of a juvenile Alamosaurus sanjuanensis have been recovered from only a few meters below the Cretaceous-Paleogene boundary in Texas, making it among the last surviving non-avian dinosaur species. Alamosaurus's tail could be flung with incredible power, making it an imposing deterrent against predators or a method of intraspecies interaction. Overall, Alamosaurus stood out due to its distinctive features: a tall neck, a muscular torso, strong limbs, and a strong tail. Alamosaurus's potential aquatic lifestyle tangent is one of the most exciting aspects of its biology. The proximity of Alamosaurus's habitat to streams and floodplains suggests that it had access to water, which may have influenced the dinosaur's behavior and environmental preferences. It is also possible that Alamosaurus might have used thermoregulation offered by water bodies for cooling down, and perhaps alleviated the weight-bearing issues of its enormous stature. It may have been sociable and lived in groups, like several other sauropods. Evidence of social behavior is provided by fossil trackways that reveal groups of individuals roaming together. The advantages of communal living may have included safety from danger, increased productivity in feeding, and the opportunity to form relationships with others. Pterodaustro. Pterodaustro, a member of the ctenochasmatid family of pterodactyloid pterosaurs, hailed from South America. Its fossilized traces can be traced back to the early Cretaceous era, approximately 105 million years ago. The first fossils were discovered during the late 1960s by José Bonaparte in the Lagacito Formation, San Luis province of Argentina, and dating from the Albion. Pterodaustro had a very elongated skull, up to 29 centimeters or 11 inches long. The portion in front of the eye sockets comprises 85% of skull length. The long snout and lower jaws curve strongly upwards. The tangent at the point of the snout is perpendicular to that of the jaw joint. Pterodaustro has about 1,000 bristle-like modified teeth in its lower jaws that might have been used to strain crustaceans, plankton, algae, and other small creatures from the water. These teeth stand for the most part not in separate alveoli, but in two long grooves parallel to the edges of the jaw. They have a length of 3 centimeters and are oval in cross-section, with a width of just 0.2 to 0.3 millimeters. At first, it was suspected these structures were not true teeth at all, but later research established they were built like normal teeth, including enamel, dentine, and pulp. Despite being made of very hard material, they might still have been flexible to some extent due to their extreme length-width ratio, a bend of up to 45 degrees being possible. The upper jaws featured diminutive teeth, characterized by a flat conical base and a spatula-shaped crown. These teeth lacked individual sockets, but seemed to be supported by ligaments within a distinct tooth pad. This pad was additionally armored with tiny ossicles, or bony plates. Pterodaustro had a maximum adult wingspan of approximately 3 meters, or 9.8 feet, and a maximum body mass of approximately 9.2 kilograms, or 20 pounds. Its hind limbs are rather robust and its feet large. Its tail is uniquely elongated for a pterodactyloid, containing 22 caudal vertebrae, whereas other members of this group have at most 16. Pterodaustro probably strained food with its tooth comb, a method called filter feeding, also practiced by modern flamingos. Once it caught its food, Pterodaustro probably mashed it with the small, globular teeth present in its upper jaw. Like other ctenochasmatoids, Pterodaustro had a long torso and proportionally massive and splayed hind feet, adaptations for swimming. Robert Bakker suggested that, like flamingos, this pterosaur's diet may have resulted in a pink hue. At least 2 specimens of Pterodaustro have been found with gizzard stones in the stomach cavity, the first ever reported for any pterosaur. These clusters of small stones with angled edges support the idea that Pterodaustro ate mainly small, hard-shelled aquatic crustaceans using filter feeding. A study of the growth stages of Pterodaustro concluded that juveniles grew relatively fast in their first 2 years, attaining about half of the adult size. Then they reached sexual maturity, growing at a slower rate for 4 to 5 years, until there was a determined growth stop. Comparing the scleral rings of Pterodaustro with those of modern birds and reptiles hints at its potential nocturnal habits, aligning it with the activity patterns of contemporary anseriform birds that forage during the night. Due to its elongated torso and neck pairing with relatively short legs, Pterodaustro faced unique challenges in taking flight. Even with the quadrupedal launching mechanism typical of pterosaurs, it likely necessitated frantic takeoffs at low angles, feasible only in open spaces, akin to the behavior of modern geese and swans. Leptoceratops. Leptoceratops is a genus of ceratopsian dinosaur from the late Cretaceous period, late Maastrichtian age 68.8 to 66 million years ago of what is now Western North America. However, their skulls have been found in Alberta, Canada, and Wyoming. Leptoceratops could probably stand and run on their hind legs. Analysis of forelimb function indicates that even though they could not pronate their hands, they could walk on four legs. Leptoceratops was around 2 meters or 6.6 feet long and could have weighed 100 kilograms or 220 pounds, but a maximum length of 3 to 4 meters or 9.8 to 13.1 feet has also been proposed. The first small ceratopsian, named Leptoceratops, was discovered in 1910 by Barnum Brown in the Red Deer Valley in Alberta, Canada. He described it 4 years later. The first specimen had a part of its skull missing, but there were later well-preserved finds by Charles Sternberg in 1947, including one complete fossil. Leptoceratops belonged to the Ceratopsia, a group of herbivorous dinosaurs with parrot-like beaks that thrived in North America and Asia during the Cretaceous period. Though traditionally allied with the Protoceratopsidae, it is now placed in its own family, Leptoceratopsidae, along with dinosaurs such as Udanoceratops and Prenoceratops. In 2019, fossils from the Hell Creek Formation found 3 fossil bone beds, which revealed that not only was Leptoceratops a social animal, but also raised its young in burrows. Leptoceratops, like other ceratopsians, was a herbivore. It had relatively short and deep jaws, with jaw muscles that extended over the large parietosquamosal frill, providing a powerful bite. This allowed Leptoceratops to effectively chew extremely tough plant matter with a combination of shearing and crushing actions. Due to its small size and quadrupedal stance, Leptoceratops was likely a low feeder. During its time, flowering plants, angiosperms, were the most diverse, although ferns, cycads, and conifers might have also been abundant. Gallimimus. Gallimimus is a theropod dinosaur from late Cretaceous Mongolia, dating from around 70 million years ago. Discovered during the 1960s through Polish-Mongolian expeditions in the Gobi Desert, Gallimimus stands out as the largest known ornithomimid, a group of bird-like dinosaurs. Unlike most ferocious theropods of its time, Gallimimus was vastly different. It grazed in groups and sprinted at high speeds to evade danger. It grew up to 6 meters long and stood 1.9 meters tall at the hip. With an estimated weight of 400 to 490 kilograms, its physique was streamlined for speed. The discovery of feathered relatives suggested that Gallimimus likewise sported a feathered coat, hinting at a more bird-like appearance than previously imagined. The dinosaur's head was small and lightweight, with large eyes positioned to the sides, granting it a wide field of vision, essential for spotting predators or prey. Unlike many of its theropod relatives, Gallimimus's snout was elongated, and its jaws were devoid of teeth, replaced by a beak, likely covered in a keratinous sheath. The long, powerful legs culminated in feet with 3 forward-facing toes, ideal for rapid, sustained running similar to an ostrich. Estimates suggest Gallimimus could reach speeds of up to 56 kilometers an hour, making it one of the fastest dinosaurs of its time. One of Gallimimus's most striking anatomical features is its skeletal pneumaticity. Most of its bones were hollow. This adaptation, common among birds, suggests a highly efficient respiratory system, potentially correlating with a high metabolic rate and the energetic demands of a fast-running lifestyle. This cursorial capability indicates a lifestyle adapted to quick movements across open landscapes. Several Gallimimus fossils found together suggest that it lived in groups, which could have facilitated collective foraging and enhanced predator evasion. Juvenile Gallimimus specimens indicate a rapid growth rate, a characteristic common among theropods. The proportions of the skull and limbs in juveniles differed significantly from those of adults, suggesting changes in feeding behavior and mobility as they grew. Gallimimus's skull also underwent significant changes throughout its development. A juvenile skull was proportionally larger and its snout was shorter compared to adults. As Gallimimus matured, the snout elongated and the eyes moved slightly. These adaptations may have improved its ability to forage or hunt for food. These changes also reflect shifts in dietary preferences or feeding strategies as Gallimimus aged.